Okay, major gift fundraising, the bread and butter of philanthropy. It's certainly where my career is focused, but and it's a big part of this course. But there are good reasons for both of those things. Not only is major gift fundraising more efficient than other types of fundraising, in that the dollars you spend to create a quality major gift program can produce notably more dollars financial return. Um, it's also a great deal of fun, a great way to engage people. It's also where the money is, and that's important. Over the course of the last 16 years, I have done some pretty wild things to be a major gift fundraiser. I have booked private helicopter rides across the Dominican Republic, private planes to cross Guatemala and land on little dirt runways in the woods. I have attended weddings and even one funeral. I've written all sorts of letters. I've had more cups of Starbucks than I can possibly begin to count. Um, I've also made some really wonderful friends and had some really interesting challenges. I've spent 40% of my time on the road, and I've been stuck here at home during pandemics. Major gift fundraising is never boring, um, but it does take work. In order to get organizations prepared and individuals prepared to invest in that work, because while I say it's never boring, some of it can be drudgery. There are there are just some things to know about where the money is in fundraising and why to focus on major gifts. In 2020, 2021, if you remember back to the Philanthropy Outlook, I had you take a look at the website that makes predictions. You'll notice that fundraising is expected to go up this year. We're going to raise even more money, 4.8% or so this year, and we're claiming even over 5% more again in 2021. That's good news. Now, if you want to participate in that, you want to gain more of that, there's some things you need to know. First, statistics are, are what they are, but some of them are really, really relevant. Who gives the most money in the United States? And when I say who, I don't mean the individual donors or companies or foundations. I mean what category? Let's think in terms of donor audiences for a minute. The primary donor audiences are individuals, corporations, foundations, and then charitable estate gifts, which are really individuals, right? Those have broken down in pretty consistent ways for years and years and years. And that is that individuals have given close to 70% of all of the dollars raised in the United States, which, by the way, is over $370 billion a year. It's a lot of money. 70% of that comes from individual people writing checks or clicking on donate buttons. Foundations are the second biggest group, and they are on the move. When I started teaching this course in 2016, foundations gave about 16% of total giving. They are now projected to be over 18% this year and closing in on 19%. That's nearly 3% increase in just a handful of years. And 3%, by the way, is like $11 billion. So foundations are on the move, but they are still a far cry from individuals who are coming in this year around 67% of giving. That's at least that's what we anticipate. Corporations are at the bottom. They give less than 5% of total giving. So I've seen lots of nonprofits focus their efforts almost entirely on corporate partners, but they're going after 5% of the pie. Is that the right decision to be making? Well, if you have just the right product to offer, if you have just the right set of circumstances, people you're connected to, maybe, because 5% of 370 billion is a lot of money. But if you're an average nonprofit who's going to build an audience from scratch, is that the audience you should focus on? The remaining 9-10%, somewhere in there, is estate gifts, and which again really are individuals, but they're those planned giving, end of life, um, highly technical gifts often. We're going to talk about those in their own section of the course, in the planned giving course. But right now, just know that combined, planned gifts and charitable giving current individuals account for let's call it 80% of the money that's out there for us to grab, which is a big part of the reason that I think major gift fundraising should be a key focus for every nonprofit. It's just simply where the most money is. And the second part of my argument is not just that individuals give the most, but it's also another trend that's taking place in the United States year after year, which is that fewer individuals are giving to charity, even though the amount they're giving is increasing every year. What that means is there are more of the dollars are coming from major donors, and fewer of the dollars are coming from new donors or small gift donors and even recurring gift donors. More and more, major gifts are the key to success. Well, the implications of that when you're designing a fundraising program, I think, are fairly clear. No matter what level of audience you're building, individual major gifts should be a part of what you're doing. But at each organization, we have to evaluate our fundraising landscape. Who do we know? What resources do we have? And how can we employ them to secure the funding that we need? Questions that you should ask probably include, are there other organizations doing the same work or very similar work with which we could share resources or audiences? Lots of nonprofits, as they get bigger, actually share their donor lists with people you might think of as competitors, as an opportunity to grab new gifts. Now, they hold back their best donors or their key donors, and they share those who might be waning from one group but would give to something new that could be exciting. There are ways to collaborate with other organizations. A new trend that's developing in the nonprofit sector, just like in the for-profit sector, is actually that of mergers and, I guess you could say, acquisitions, where groups are actually merging and becoming larger organizations. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. Is that something you should consider rather than either starting a new nonprofit or trying to sustain a tiny organization that ends up focusing so much of its resources on just staying alive? I can't say that it is, but it's a question we should ask on a regular basis. There are formal resources to help you identify what audiences might work for you. So individuals we're going to do through a variety of means, right? We're going to write letters and introduce ourselves to people. We are going to talk to the people that we know. We're going to ask our board members for introductions. And I would encourage you to sit down and literally write out a relationship map. Take the people who know your organization and who support it and map out who those people know. Look for overlaps and look for paths to people you want to meet, people you want to talk to about your organization. And figure out ways that maybe you're asking for a gift from your board member right now, but in a few months what you're going to ask for is not more money, but an introduction to one of their connections, who you happen to know knows somebody at a corporation who might make a gift, or a foundation that might make a gift, or simply could be a major donor themselves. Looking to build out that network is going to be key. Be honest with yourself about what it's going to take. I see a lot of groups that go and say they're going to start a foundations program, trying to raise money from foundations, because they think they can just send out many applications and they can do it quickly. And there are free resources to help you get started with that. The Springfield Greene County Library maintains a subscription to the Foundation Center, which has a database of foundations and the giving priorities that they have, so that you can search out those who support your type of work and your mission. And it's a valuable resource that's available to you for free from the Greene County Library. But it takes time and effort. And who's going to do it? Is it a volunteer or a paid staff person? And how are they going to best utilize that effort? Because that resource is also available to everyone else, and they're going to be making the same searches. Be flexible. I'm not advocating that you focus only on major gifts. You absolutely should look for the other pieces and build out a plan that involves major gifts and plan giving and fundraising letters for new donor acquisition and smaller gifts and recurring donors and possibly corporate partnerships and foundation grants. What I am suggesting though is that flexibility to go where your circumstances lead you rather than designing a cookie cutter program that just has a pie chart broken up into each one of those categories um, is probably a worthwhile strategy. Take your time. If it takes you 10 years to touch foundations because you've been building out an individual giving program and a planned giving program, and that has legs, that is probably okay. Trying to do it all from the start or all right now, just because there's money on the table theoretically, um, can lead to a lot of frustration and missed opportunities. The next few pieces of the course are focused on how to raise money through major gifts, how to ask someone for money, and what it takes to build those relationships. I've got all kinds of stories I could share. If you're interested in some, let me know. I'll be happy to share. But I want you to take a pretty serious look at this, because I do think whether you want to be a fundraiser specifically or whether you want to lead a small nonprofit or a large nonprofit, this is going to be a big part of what you do.